Yeah.
I just gotta say, is PattyMac like a lawyer? Like, he's got like a badass office.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I gotta go see this guy.
Preview.
He's like my headmaster or something. I walk in, he's like, what, you have not cast enough Starcraft this week? I'm like, I'm sorry, PattyMac. Like,
The wide angle, it's some sort of fisheye type lens. So he must be using a high quality GoPro to broadcast, probably one that they use for recording trials and whatnot.
Yeah, I know.
Practice segments, right? So yeah, no, he's got desks behind him made of rich mahogany. Yeah, that's not gonna lie. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of him just based off that image alone. Thank you for telling me to look. Sometimes I forget that we get to see so much of our players in this tournament.
I love peering into the cameras, at least at the start, just to kind of see what the setups are and stuff. Like, maybe I'm being a bit nosy, but like, I find it very interesting to see what people have, like, how people have their room set up. As meanwhile, Link show up, by the way, and this pylon's gonna go down. That's pretty bad, Nathanius. That was the power of going pool first with this hat block.
Yeah. Well, your command center, or your nexus, excuse me, is getting, nibbled on. Your pylon gets killed. Your other pylon gets nibbled on. You have an adept, yes, but your base is looking like a campaign mission. You know what I mean? You've got a first objective: bring a probe, build a pylon, take these buildings, and that's not a fun way to start off. So Namshar bringing a bit of the pressure. I guess he's thinking to himself, he's like, well, if I'm a big favorite here potentially, then I should try to at least do some sort of gut check builds in case he's just not ready for this. And thus far, it hasn't been crazy painful. Only one probe has died in this game so far. So I can't say it's the worst thing. And there's that Stargate that we were talking about.
Yep, and already scouted as well, right? So it's like, Namshar is just having the time of his life. He knows exactly what he's up against. This has definitely been a good opening. He slowed down Warpgate a lot. Yeah, we'll see what PattyMac does off the Stargate. He's just going to go Oracle straight away, so maybe a little less likely to be like a heavy Stargate commitment. Maybe we see something a little bit more regular here, which would be a nice change up after we've watched 3 very heavy Stargate-focused games in a row.
Yeah, well, the Stargate's all the way down, right, as they say. So maybe after this Oracle, we'll have a Robo or a Twilight Council, but I'm going to be honest with you. I forget what it looks like to see units that aren't Void Rays carriers and Oracles fighting versus Zerg. But I'm still not tired of it yet. Still not tired of it just yet. But if it happens 2-3 games in a row, like carrier rushes, M-Canning style, I am going to scratch my head a lot. You know, I might pull some hairs out. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. I think this is going to be more like what Showtime showed us a little bit earlier, right? Potentially, well, if he wasn't going to make 3 Oracles before, he's definitely going to make a 3rd one now, because you would kind of like to keep at least 2 Oracles on the map. So, yeah, a bit more like what Showtime showed us earlier against Vanya, like some 3 Oracle play you set up from there, and you just try and take like a pretty regular game. I will not lie, I've not seen much of PattyMac at all. To me, he's a really unknown player. I was surprised to see him qualify, which gets me excited to see some of his games, right? But I have no idea what kind of style he's going to bring, and he's only played against TLO so far in this group, so we've not even seen that much of his PvZ.
Wow. So there's a forge starting up behind this. So I'm hoping that that's not just for cannons, as that 3rd Nexus is underway. And we have the lair, Roachhorn finishing somewhat soon, but everything else kind of just looks pretty vanilla. Nobody's making any big moves out there. And I don't know why, but I know we're like 5.5 minutes into this game, but I'm just so used to seeing the tech investments by this point that I'm just a little bit concerned. There we go. So it's Twilight Council out of PattyMac. With that forge, go for +1. We could go into charge lots, maybe an Archon drop. I would like to see something more normal. There's a Robo. Thank you, PattyMac.
I like it. No, that's cool. Yeah, I like that he's just playing straight up as well, right? You know?
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about your believing in yourself when you come into the series. Like, well, I am the underdog, but you know what? I believe I can win still. Try my best, bring out something regular to start with. Maybe get a bit cheesier in game 2 if it really doesn't work out. If you really like, oh, wow, okay, I just can't win. But I like opening game 1 strong, believe in yourself, and give yourself some, some hype.
Yeah. Yes, it's, okay, there's the the Templar Archives now, too. So we are going to get something that feels a little bit more close to home as Namshar is getting the Overlord speed. That's going to help the Overseers as well, obviously. But Roach speed, Hydra range, +1. Roach Hydra. Is that what Namshar is about to go for here? I feel like I have not seen a Roach Hydra game ZvP
This is
in a long time.
Very Namshar-esque, honestly. Roach Hydra, probably, maybe eventually Lurkers, but what he's very likely to do is set up like a lot of dropper lords. Maybe move around the right-hand side, like drop into the main base with them. That's just how Namshar has liked to play for such a long time. And it's funny because we always used to kind of comment like Namshar was this guy that would still play Lurkers when no one else would because he just loved his style. That was how Namshar played PvZ. And his downfall was that he was just one-dimensional in the matchup. And then he really started to switch it up. And a few months after he started to switch it up, little Lurkers kind of became a big thing again in PvZ. So it's like, you know, Namshar's like, I knew it. If I just stuck with it this entire time, it would have been perfectly set up. But obviously, this isn't Lurkers. This is very Hydra heavy in terms of production right now. And I'm still kind of believing in like maybe a bit of an Overlord drop or so. We'll see if he switches anything up or goes for anything when he comes in and sees that this is just full on tech mode from his opponent.
Yeah, well, Storm is finishing up soon, so it's not like he doesn't have something that can deal with the ground army that Namshar is going to be throwing at him. But I'm not going to lie, Wardy, the thing about this game that kind of puzzles me the most is this base timing ends up being really nice for PattyMac, right? Like his fourth is finishing very close to when Namshar's fourth is. Like he hasn't really even saturated it yet, has he? There's just a handful of drones that are there. He's rallying a few more because I don't actually see that many going to that.
Oh, that was Nathanius. I thought it was me lagging out. So that's why I'm super quiet. My bad, guys. Yeah, obviously Nathanius dropping here, so we've got a small problem. Hopefully a hiccup we can get through. Oh, Nate is full on crash. Well, Nate, bye. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. I really thought it was me because my game froze up and then Nate went funky. So, yeah. Kind of an interesting moment in this game because Namshar is, as Nate's kind of saying, like, he's 73 drones against 80 probes. So he's kind of in this odd position where we are basically kind of like down in workers. And by being down in workers, he's almost, I don't want to say he's all in, but the pressure's kind of on to do something for him. And he's on kind of Ling Hydra. And with Storm up, it feels like PattyMac is pretty well set up to deal with this. So we're going to get back in game here in a few moments' time. So we're just going to drop Nathanius out. But literally, as I say, he disappears from the screen. That's a little bit spooky, not going to lie. But we are going to ready up back in game, and we're going to get in, hopefully jump in right away, because Namshar really is setting up to be aggressive here. So we are going to jump back in, and Namshar continues to move across the map here on Jagannatha. Game 1 of this best 3 against PattyMac. Here we go. So, as you can see, there's a lot of High Templars just around, kind of ready to get going. But it's a lot of Hydras, and that's what I mean. The High Templar are generally going to be pretty good against all of those Hydras. And I don't really see a way for Namshar to attack up any of these ramps right now. There's cannons, there's stasis wards, and he's still just building roaches behind it as well. Obviously, one of the big things is if you can just overwhelm, maybe you split up a little bit. And that's why earlier I was talking a lot about the idea of just going into multiple overlords, of just going into dropper lords and dropping around up into the main base and stuff. Because that allows you to kind of pull your opponent apart. It's very hard to have a High Templar in the main base and, you know, over on the fourth base behind it, right? If those dropper lords go over there. As fight breaks out, Storm's already coming down, and there is a super battery activating pretty much right away. Yeah, keeping things alive. Namshar to split back. His supplies are staying okay, but a lot of his reproduction is just pure Zerglings. So he's replacing a lot of expensive Hydras with just fairly cheap Zerglings. Behind all of this, it's the Infestation Pit Lurker Den combo, so we're going to start moving into Hive and those Lurker upgrades, but feels like Namshar took some big losses there, and if PattyMac can get maybe a Warping of Zealots, harass it on the map, and then continue to hold like this, he could maybe turn this into a big attack across the map as well, and just go from there. The Fleet Beacon building as well, PattyMac's second Stargate. You know what, I actually like that move as well, because what this allows PattyMac to do is, he's basically saying, right, you know what, I'm safe enough to tech up, I feel good, I've defended, and now I feel like I can make my play into carriers while still continuing to defend. So he feels really comfortable right now. He'll be able to start making his way toward carriers. And if he starts to make his way in toward carriers, well, that's generally going to be pretty good if Namshar's just going to sit, continue to reproduce Hydras after Hydras after Hydras. So Yeah, it feels pretty good for PattyMac right now. Underdog in game 1 is looking pretty good, and in such an honest game as well. That's what's maybe the most impressive to me. The fact that he's been able to, in an extremely just honest, straight up game, get himself into a very good spot. So let's see what we're going to be going for in a couple of moments. Roaches and Hydras going to be splitting up a little bit and still trying to keep aggressive here as that hive comes through. Oh, I like this from PattyMac though. He's not going to stand for this. He's not going to let Namshar create all the action. He's going to dive in a little bit himself. Starting to chase, coming in from the side to try and flank. Needs to be careful he doesn't just get kited the entire way across the map, because those Hydras will deal serious damage if you can't put some storms on them. So, okay. Of course, remember PattyMac's teching up as well with that fleet beacon down, motherships on the way through. So there's always that question mark of, do you need to be attacking if you're also teching up? It's not super hardcore. He's not going in towards any of those carriers until just now. We'll see where it goes, as Nathanius apparently has rejoined me. Hi, Nate.
Hi. Sorry about that. Yeah. Some reason my Starcraft really doesn't like when I'm in a video call, so I apologize for that to everybody. But I was gonna say, I've been watching this here. You are amazing at keeping going. I'm very impressed by you, Wardy. But man, this game has been just absolutely nuts, right? I like the way that it's a kind of a later transition into the carrier setup too, because you get all these Immortals, these Templar. You kind of have other tools that you can use to bring pressure to the Zerg to open the door for you to be able to get that big air army without them, getting like 100 Spore Crawlers and all those Corruptors. But the Storms thus far to PattyMac have been really, really strong, and he's been impressing me with the level of play that we're seeing out of him in this game. Just not crumbling to this, continuing to take bases, most importantly, while getting those carriers and setting himself up very strongly. But if I was going to say one thing, Wardy, I would like to see him try to squeeze in that air attack upgrade, because carriers, they end up at an upgrade disadvantage. They're not going to have the impact that you're hoping for in this type of late game situation.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That air upgrade is the one thing that's kind of missing, but at the same time, this mothership pops out. It might not even come to that, Nate, because realistically here, I feel like PattyMac with the mothership might just go for the push that might actually just end the game. Look at him go. He's on 90 probes. Huge army supply compared to what Namshar has, and Namshar still hasn't teched up. Like, he's got 3 lurkers. If you want to call that teching up, I mean, we can have that discussion later, because I don't agree.
Right.
3 lurkers do not change this game in the slightest. So I'm pretty sure PattyMac's going to keep pushing down that right side, and at the very least, he's going to deny that bottom right base. And maybe the best play for Namshar here would be some sort of counterattack up to the top. But then you're inviting a base trade that you're not really going to win either. What I'm trying to say is that I think Namshar is kind of out of options. Like, he's let this game get to a point where PattyMac's in full control. And yeah, that's going to be difficult to overcome now.
Yeah, and suddenly the challenger that we have of the group really is looking dominant. He's maxed out, ripping through Zerg bases. The Vipers are just now going to be coming out to help try to deal with this, but then you get that cash money recall while they chew through your static defense, and that's okay. Well, it wasn't the biggest recall, but storms are enough.
Yeah, there's what, like 15 Hydras here. Storm's actually more than enough in this scenario, and then lets him keep the pressure up on this side, which, let's be realistic, Namshar doesn't have a way to fight that. And PattyMac, I love how safe he's been with it, because there's no danger in him being safe by backing away right now and letting everything join up together again before going. It's only going to guarantee that he's going to push through with everything and truly win the game, rather than letting anything come back in. So yeah, I like everything he's doing. I gotta say, I'm super impressed with PattyMac so far.
Yeah, this has been really well done. The only thing I was keeping my eye on is that +2 Carapace is obviously going to have a huge benefit for the Hydras against the unupgraded carriers. And +1 did just now start for Protoss Air, but if he doesn't make this next move a little bit soon, I mean, enough Hydras, the carriers don't really have all the meat, all the power behind them. A lot of it is still in the Side Storms that have been doing very well for PattyMac. And he's going to step back away from this base a little bit. That's kind of what I'm talking about. It's not quite just drive the nail in just yet situation.
No, it's not yet, but it's getting there, right? I mean,
yeah.
If he gets up here without the Lurkers repositioning, that might just do it, because now the Lurkers have to reposition during the fight, and that gives a couple of souls. Oh my god, the Hydras are caught in Evo Chambers, Nate. That will kind of do it, huh?
At choke point, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, as soon as you said it, oh my god, the Storms, the Hydras don't really have an open space to retreat to. They're coming through that choke again on the south side, and now 60 supply discrepancy. And I can't believe this. I can't believe what I'm seeing, Wardy, but this mothership has lived way too long. I fear that the mothership may have generated value this game, which is a scary thing to say.
I can't believe the mothership went down without being yoinked.
Yeah, that too. We'll throw that one in.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, honestly, I look at this and I'm kind of still. I mean, obviously, PattyMac's won this game, right? I don't think there's any other way about it. But just to recap, like, he played like a really solid game. Like, this was no nonsense. It was nothing crazy. If anything, it was Namshar choosing to play like a weird style. You know, you were like, what is he doing? Is he playing Roach Hydra? And yeah, he kind of was. And that's kind of outdated. And this is the problem. If your opponent doesn't overreact to it and sort of just sits back and defends, I don't see what it does, especially on a map like this. You talked about how well you can defend these bases earlier with the setup on that forward third even. And in this case, we saw exactly that. Like, Namshar had zero opportunity to attack. And the first time he attacked, there was already Storm done. So PattyMac was extremely well prepared. And now he's obviously just going to fly in and basically kill Namshar, maybe for the win this time around. The High Templar going down.
Oh my God.
Just for a little bit of last minute drama. Obviously, the carrier should be able to clean up. Has that +1, so it's kind of down on the upgrades on the carriers, but even still should be okay as some extra zealots warp in, and yeah, reinforcements not even really needed. This is still a done deal.
Yeah, very well done here by PattyMac, and important to know, I mean, the zealots and the archons had the +3 attack, so a lot of the other units were still contributing greatly, even if the carriers were waiting for those attack upgrades, and just that +1 helps tremendously because, you know, we had the +2 done for Namshar, but with this many units, with this overwhelming force, PattyMac gonna take this first game, and I did not see this coming. Man, PattyMac, where did this guy come from?
He's clapped. On game number 2, as we'll start in the bottom right-hand side with the red Protoss player up 1-0. It's PattyMac.
And his opponent in the northwest position, spawning as the blue Zerg player, he is Namshar. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. Like, it's so hard to find those opportunities where you can either take advantage of somebody doing something like this. Like, there's the hatch block again, and we had this conversation in the last map, right? You kind of force the probe pull, you kind of be annoying. It's a way to get something back, like do it like an economic jab to your enemy, because you can't ignore it. You absolutely can't just ignore the hatch in this situation, but at the same time, you don't want to pull too much and slow yourself down, because you know that there's likely to be some lings coming, and we had that pylon killed last game. So, like, PattyMac handled himself really well, and I think that was one of the most impressive parts of game number 1 for me, was just the way that he took on that pressure that can be hard to deal with, but he didn't just defend it. Like, he was able to pretty smoothly move on to his early game strategy, and, you know, from that point forward, get up his bases and then actually be able to win the game in a long macro match, which was just really, really awesome. And that kind of, the only other thing I wanted to say about that is it actually made me think a lot about the M. Canning series, where I'm like, if M. Canning had done a build like this and then gone into carriers, you know, like, this is the kind of thing where I'm like, this is how you keep someone on their toes.
Yep. No, for sure. It's the one of those things where you just kind of mix it up a little bit. Here comes some lings, just this time straight through into the main base. They're just going to look for a few probes, and he gets one very quickly to start, and now he gets a second. So this isn't bad because you're also pulling the probes off the mineral line. And yeah, it's a commitment from Namshar. It's 3, you know, what could have been 3 drones across the map. It's that pool first. But you now get 4 probes, and you still got this hatchery here delaying the Nexus big time. So PattyMac puts down the Stargate in the main base before you will even expand.
Yeah, that's painful. I mean, just the way that you expect your economy to ramp up when you do your practice games, your ladder games, or like in the last map when you kind of prevent your base from being blocked down for a really long time. Because even with that in the last game, it wasn't really as big of a deal. But that's the drawback of not making the commitment of bringing your probes over and trying to even just mess with them there, right? With the broodlings, trying to push the zealot away from the wall. There's nothing coming. It's not like Namshar was doing a 1-base ling flood, but if he was, those broodlings would put a lot of fear into a Protoss player's heart. You're thinking to yourself, why, he doesn't want me to put my zealot in the wall? Is that because something's about to show up? You know, these are the small things that Namshar does that I think look really awesome.
Yep. There's so many little mind games going on in the early stages of this. It's definitely something to be aware of. It's a lot of lings now on the way. It kind of needs to be, because you've been forcing 2 gates of production this entire time. So Namshar has to kind of pay for that by making sure he's got enough lings to not then take damage. But look how delayed the Nexus is. 4 minutes it drops down here. I mean, in some matches we talk about a 4-minute third base for Protoss players. So
yeah,
that's a pretty late natural.
Yeah, it's a tough situation where you are under a lot of pressure to do damage, and that's why these adepts shade into the main. But one dies. I don't know if he got a drone because we're not seeing the extra numbers count up. So maybe he got a single one, but losing 4 adepts for pretty much nothing there is definitely not a fun spot to be in. And the Spore Crawler was already built here, so the Oracle can come and get 2 probes, but now it's already taken some actual real damage, and we'll probably take a little bit more on the way out from this queen. And yeah, we start to see here Namshar feels like he's straightened his posture or something going into this game, which I know looking at his camera, he's obviously got the best posture of any human being that's ever lived, but he somehow found a way to make it even more correct.
I mean, I can't disagree with that one. All right, so a Void Ray. Ooh, I kind of like that. Do you think he's going to go like heavy Stargate, or do you think he's just a bit afraid of something?
I do not know, because everybody who builds this first Void Ray has such different ways of following it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just so... Like, if this was M canning, I'm like, okay, well, let's just get ready for the Fleet Beacon and 2 more Stargates once the 3rd begins. But this 3rd was very delayed, so you're not in a great economy position, and Void Rays are not cheap. In fact, actually, like, when you make things build faster, that cost over time, if you want to continuously produce something, becomes more expensive in a way. Even, and I know they dropped the cost of it a little too, but just things to consider, that you can't just be cranking out a bunch of Void Rays with your base delayed. So I expect it to be just this one and just move into something else, because I guess you don't want to build the Phoenix, and the Void Ray is not too much more expensive, and it's going to be a little bit better at defending the 3rd. So kind of ends up being a wash.
I like it too, and especially after just being after 2 Oracles, I think it is always just going to be the one, right? Because if you're going to go 1 Void Ray into more, you probably go 1 Void Ray Oracle, more Void Rays, I think, because you want to deny vision a bit faster and stuff like that, and certain things are setting up. So yeah, I think you just wanted to deny that vision, and may as well, again, extra safety just in case Namshar does go that little bit aggressive on the follow-up, because it has been a weird opening, and it can be difficult to sometimes tell where you're at in this sort of stage of a game as a Protoss.
Yeah. The lair is going to finish up now too, so we get to see what Namshar wants to do tech-wise. He's building a few roaches, he's getting +1 missile attacks, but we don't quite know 100% if it's going to be straight into the Hydralisk Den, straight into, well, we see roach speed now, so maybe telling us that he wants to play with some maybe Roach Ravager or Ravager Ling Roach, but certainly not the sprint to Hydralisks that we had in the first game either.
And the Archives just finished up. Namshar, is he just gonna go like roach speed +1 timing? Okay, Infestation Pit says no. I was just starting to think about it because he's only on 66 drones. He hadn't started the 4th base until now. So no, unless he's still gonna go for it and he's just got those as like backup plans, and maybe he does. Like he's kind of bringing stuff out into the middle. A few more overloads on the way when he definitely doesn't need them. That's like freeing up supply to just produce roaches, right? Yeah, the Infestation Pit's throwing me off a little bit though, so we'll see. What's he gonna build next? He's got so much money. Don't tell me he's gonna go Swarm Hosts. I don't want to believe it. He is.
No,
build Swarm Hosts. He is. He's
no.
gonna do it. It makes sense because he's on 66 drones. It's the only other thing it can be.
No, your analysis is spot on, but I'm just gonna do this. Like, the zombies in front of me, and instead of running, I'm just gonna sit there and be like, "Oh my god!" Well, bite my face off. That's standard. I'm just trying to do my horror movie impression, honestly. Swarm hosts are so... I don't really know the word to describe this unit. I don't think that they're very good against TErran, so I don't have a personal vendetta against them, but I find them so uninteresting.
Oh, Nate, I play TErran, and I have a personal vendetta against them because I had to sit through games in Heart of the Swarm. I cannot get back my life from Heart of the Swarm. How many games? Oh, first round of a cup TvZ? Oh no, what did I... Oh no.
Morty, that was 20 years ago, though. The people who build Swarm hosts now don't even remember what that stuff was like.
And I'm still trying to get back the time I lost to them.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. So here's that wave, that gate crasher kind of build where the locusts come in, soak up all the initial blasts of energy from everything, and then the more expensive units, the Ravagers and the Roaches, that You don't want to throw away necessarily, get to make their move. So he gets a bunch of roaches into the main. Some of them, of course, can still kind of go back to the natural if they want to, but a locust surround an Archon, get a kill on that. And this goes back to the discussion that we had when we saw this strategy earlier today. I think it was right, Anya Showtime, right? And you end up in this awkward spot where if your power units get depleted, you can throw away as many zealots as you want. If your immortal count is going up while you're defending against this, you have a chance. But if they're able to snipe your Archons, if they're able to snipe your immortals, those are not units that you can replace in time for each individual wave of locusts that's going to come at you. And now I start to feel a little bit more pain here for PattyMac.
Yeah, because this definitely has been a lot of losses already. That's going to be another dead immortal here. It's right in amongst all of these roaches and ravages. And I mean, Namshar's feeling good enough to keep on fighting during the point where the locusts have been cleaned out, which kind of says that he thinks he's just going to straight up win, which he might. He's still maxed out. He's still got money to spend in the bag. Pros of Files are going to get more of these units. The efficiency just has not been there for PattyMac. Those are great force fields to trap some swarm hosts, but the rest of it is just not being good enough, sadly. You're not really meant to, it's equal work accounts, so you generally get a few more as PattyMac here. It's just not where you want to be at, right? Like, he's lost 2 immortals, 2 Archons. The only good thing is he did just catch a bunch of swarm hosts, but those swarm hosts come out way faster than new immortals and Archons do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is these locust waves are also not going to cost any additional investment. Everything that you're reinforcing with are the cheap units, It's as if the Zerg was doing the Protoss part of only building zealots, because they're not losing their power units, which would be, in this sense, a lot of the Ravagers, but the Queens, and then most importantly, the Swarm Hosts, because they are actually not cheap, and they do take up a lot of supply. You don't want to lose them ever if this strategy is going to be successful, but here we are, just down to 2 immortals now. There goes the final Archon. And the batteries are depleted. Actually, they're all dead. 1 immortal left, none immortals left. GG. Yep. Namshar ties it up. It is so hard to deal. Indeed, it does. Should be feeling very comfortable. This man in the Northwest representing Storm Gaming, the Blue Zerg, he is Namshar.
Bottom right-hand side. Let's give it up for PattyMac. I like that Namshar's given up on this early aggression as well. Because it felt like he was, not going to say relying on it, but obviously leaning on it a little bit in those first 2 games. And I feel like it's just not necessary. I liked him doing it, but then he did twice, and I was like, nah. At some point, PattyMac's going to catch on, figure it out, and kind of stop this from happening, right? So I don't mind Namshar finally saying, okay, enough of that. Let's just open a little bit normal here.
Yeah. And I guess if I was going to try and make an estimation with this cybernetic score finishing, would not be surprised to see people sticking with the Stargate. It's popular for a reason, and just the fact that you have that big late game transition, but I would not mind seeing something else. There it is, though, and that's okay. That is absolutely fine. If that's what he believes he needs to do to win, then I will absolutely be fine with that. It is a completely safe, standard, normal thing to do. People don't feel like they can get away with anything else these days, do they?
No. I mean, why do anything else if Stargate's so good, right?
Why would you do anything else, right? So if it works, don't fix it. You get to scout, get to defend.
Yeah. And there's so many follow-ups as well, right? Because it doesn't just have to be into like macro. You can still be a bit all-in-y after a Stargate. It's almost like the best way to set up for an all-in, because then you don't lead off into anything, right away. So, it's just like you see a Stargate, it's like, you've got to really scout then as Namshar what the follow-up is,
Yeah. So the Overlord sees everything. There's just an Adept here. There's going to be another one. And a gateway gets put down here as well. Is there space between the Stargate and the gateway? Okay, there is. Yeah, so they can get out. I'm like that. Graphically, they look very close together. And the probe's going to go over to start the 3rd base. So looking normal. Finishing the wall makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure. Maybe he thought that was the only opening before himself. But regardless, we do have the spores about to finish up Wardy. So Orca will come in. There won't be too much opportunity for it to get extra damage in. Actually takes a few hits. All the shields are gone before it reaches the mineral line. And that's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, because now you just can't commit in. You're going to take full damage. You don't really want to take full damage unless you're guaranteeing drone kills, and there is no guarantee of drone kills because Namshar just pulls them to one side, and even one queen is going to start putting full damage onto that. So
yeah, exactly. And as long as there's a spore in each base, the Zerg player is going to be able to get some work done. You can't just go in with the Oracle because, compared to like a Banshee, for example, which has 6 range, you can kind of poke from outside the range of it. But Oracles are a little bit less than that, so they kind of have to get in range. Spores shoot what, 7, I think. Most static defense is 7 range by default. So you can't really play too easily around those with the Oracles, especially since, of course, we have queens everywhere. And I guess more importantly, you want to keep those Oracles alive because they do provide a lot of utility in the late game or even just this mid-game stage. Scouting, revelation, following the army, defending, from Ling floods, that sort of thing.
Yep. Oracles are very important to keep alive, so no shame at all in just kind of playing very safely with those. He does just go for the 2 this time. Last game it was 3, and I feel like that third one may have even been just because he lost one of them. So, that means everything else he does from here on out will be that little bit faster than the last game because it's gas you haven't spent on a 3rd Oracle. Which obviously last game it didn't even give you the power of a 3rd Oracle. So, yeah, definitely a bit of a better start. That one nearly died. He's just playing with our heart. PattyMac is he knows how to make it exciting, Nate.
This is the reason why I could never play Protoss full time. It's just I have like any OCD or like anxiety tick is having units that aren't healed. Like I make a point of repairing stuff, for example. But as Protoss, you literally can't. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to fix a damaged Oracle. There's nothing you can't heal. You can't heal a Zealot who's been hurt. I asked myself, what kind of monsters figure out teleportation, but not how to fix, not Band-Aids, right? Am I crazy?
Well, the shields are kind of the Band-Aid, right? Like if you just cover up the wound, you'll never see it.
Morty, if you have a force field around you, but your arm gets cut off and then the force field regenerates, you still have no arm.
Yeah, I'm saying.
What is the force field going to suture the wound?
Yeah, you just put a Band-Aid on it. It's like, okay, it's fine. You can't see it anymore. We're good.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. No.
There's some like deep thing here. Maybe Protoss have in their laws like, our scars define us, right? So it's like you literally just like you got to live with your scars.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's some weird honor thing, just like why they don't, use warp gate to mine gas, right? Or resources in general. Like, do we even need probes anymore? Like, honestly, like how have you guys not innovated your way past having to build individual workers? Like, is this a joke? Where's the warp gate for workers? You know what I mean? All this, well. That's the fun side of StarCraft when you get into the reasons why nobody wants to do the most obvious logical things. And then we sum it up by also just saying gameplay reasons, Gameplay reasons. Otherwise, Protoss would have just nuked this map from orbit when they found that Namshar was there in the first place. 10 mutas coming out, by the way. And there are roaches looking to attack on the south side, so that 4th looks quite vulnerable.
And he's seen the Spire, though, PattyMac, so he's already making a Phoenix. Namshar's doing a bit of everything. Missiles for the roaches, then he's going melee, and then he went Spire, and now he's going to go Hydra Den. I thought everything just died there because he cancelled a cannon or something. I thought everything just blew up. I was like, wow. Yeah, these skins have some dramatic death animation. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the cool things about that sort of stuff. That's one of the reasons why I like a lot of the skin things. Like I think I might have brought this one up like 7,000 times, but the drone with the razor blade hands actually, it does the Zealot death animation when it kills stuff. It has it kills units differently. They pay attention. They pay attention to these things, and we appreciate those who give us nerds our fan service with that. Only thing I wish we could have gotten would have been if we should have just been able to ram our medevacs that had giant blades on them into other units. we gave a unit that cannot attack giant blades. You never got that one.
You just fly it into the Mutalists. It's like a suicide mission. If it dies,
this crap acts like a force field too, by the way. It actually made it easier to defend. That was nice.
That's pretty neat. Well, PattyMac for the moment is defending well. Needs to fix some of these supply block issues, though. Going for a couple more Stargates. I don't think I like that. I mean, okay, it's 19 meters. And I kind of do like it a bit more. I didn't realize he went up to 19 meters already. And he's going to keep it more. Okay, I love the extra Stargates, Nate. I'll take it all back.
Yeah, the Mutalisks and the amount of damage that they can do and the pressure that they can put on, having the access to get into that Phoenix count is always going to be nice. And then, as we've already talked about and seen, pretty much every other PvZ in this whole entire day of StarCraft has been getting to the carrier, getting that next level. But that fourth base, I think that's been canceled like at least once, maybe twice now. And PattyMac, you got to protect that. You got to keep that alive. That's what the strength of the Mutalisks are, right? You pull the Protoss around, distract them. Obviously, having Phoenix makes dealing with this tremendously easier, which is why we were saying it was such a good thing that he started those Stargates. But he still needs to make sure that the Immortals and the Archons are there to protect that Nexus. A Protoss on 3 base is not going to beat a Zerg that gets up to 4, 5, 6.
Bane's gonna go rolling in, Nate. Oh no! I feel like we've not watched a Bane lane run by kill a mineral line all day. Maybe that's just me, but it's been a while at least. 21 probes go down, and PattyMac's work count was already hurt, and he only has 38 on the map. And his army supply, due to that, is starting to be lacking.
Yeah, the Mutalisks make it back over to that fourth. It did finish, but so many probes picked off in the process. And when you have this many Nexi, it's not like it's impossible to rebuild them, but you need to be super cautious about the way that these trades go, because those Phoenix do not have the range upgrade. So it's not like it's, you know, a very easy, like, oh yes, I have Phoenix, the Mutalisks are gone. No, you know, you can kind of do a lot against them, but that means you're going to be putting an APM attention onto other areas than your main army, right? Than your base, than all of that stuff. So it's definitely one of those things you need to be super on top of. I wonder if we're going to see that upgrade, that Fleet Beacon tech come out from him. But you can kind of see right now, a lot of pressure is also on this ground defense. The Roaches hitting the third base, that mass Hydra Bane attack on the fourth. The Phoenix are killing the Mutalisks over in the natural now, but if that's all the Phoenix that are left, then he actually lost quite a bit of them in order to make this hold. So he doesn't even get all the value out of those that he may have been originally hoping for. And yes, that is it. It's just 3 Phoenix. Now he's got to rebuild a lot of probes while also building up the army and defending the follow-up attack. And I think that's where PattyMac is going to struggle.
Kind of like the Banelings kind of getting destroyed there, though. Those storms that PattyMac had a half a minute ago were really, really good. So that's nice. But right now, he's continuing to take quite a few losses. This Archon goes down as well. So much of this is just irreplaceable. I mean, I know he's gotten back to 55 probes, but he was on a much lower work account for much longer than that. And right now, Namshar's income difference is just huge. It's really ridiculous. It's like 2K plus a minute. And so there's just, even with amazing storms, you're getting to that point where you just can't really contain how much Zerg there is going to be. Right now, there isn't even that many storms. There's a few ready, but yeah, you're going to have to be perfect with pretty much every single one again.
Yeah. This arc that's being set up is also just, I mean, this zoom out view, like famous pictures before tragedy. Some storms on the left, some storms on the northeast, but enough of the Banelings are going to just barely get through and take the shields off these units. The Templar are now exposed, and the Hydras will dry